My name is Sr Lisette, and I would like to share with you the experience I had when Father returned back home after 14 years of exile. Before I tell you about this wonderful meeting with our Father at the airport, I would like to briefly share with you a bit of the background of him being exiled by the Church. Throughout his life, our Father and Founder received the grace of sharing in the cross of our Lord. During the time of persecution under the National Socialism in Germany, he spent more than 3 years in prison and concentration camp. From 1951 till 1965, Father was separated from his work by decree of the Church. He considered this type of personal imitation of Christ as understood, and in the midst of all the trials became a father for many. He saw everything, including the cross, as an expression of the merciful fatherly love of God. For 14 years, he had to remain in the USA. This was a time in which his love and loyalty for the Church proved itself. At the end of the Second Vatican Council, he was received in audience by Pope Paul VI, who expressed recognition of his work and life. Our founder returned to Schönstatt and served his work for 3 years with undiminished strength. On Sunday, the 15th of September 1968, the feast of the Seven Sorrows of Our Lady, immediately after the celebration of the Holy Mass, he placed his life into the hands of God forever. He died renowned for his sanctity. There won't be many Schönstädters walking this earth who were as fortunate as I to be present when Father arrived in Frankfurt on the 24th of December 1965, as well as being present in his last Holy Mass in the Adoration Church on the 15th of September 1968. Through the grace of God and the special love of our dear Mother Thrice Admirable, it was granted to me. Here is my experience with Father when I was able to welcome him at the airport in Frankfurt. Already when we arrived, when we heard that Father received the telegram to come to Rome, we were so excited and grateful that there was a possibility that Father would return to Schönstatt. Needless to say, I handed in my application to become a Schönstatt sister on the 13th of September 1965, the day after the dedication of the shrine in Cambrai, and the day Father received the telegram in which he was asked to return to Rome. Therefore, I felt I had some part in it too. The leaders in Schönstatt were very tight-lipped regarding the developments in Rome, but later we were able to understand why we received so little information. It was simply too difficult to explain that no trace of the telegram could be found, and that Father was in danger of being returned to Milwaukee. But even without any detailed knowledge, we continued to hope and pray, and the sacrifice of the miracle night would be possible. Meanwhile, Christmas was approaching, and I had informed my family that I would enter the Schönstatt sisters, which was a great sorrow for them, and the atmosphere at my home, was as cold as the wintry weather outside. Nevertheless, on the 24th, about lunchtime, I started to decorate our Christmas room, which had been my privilege for some years. Around 1 o'clock, the doorbell rang, and one of the ladies of the Federation stood there with an envelope from Father Grimm, our diocesan leader of the movement. I should open it immediately. I couldn't believe what I read. Father arrives at the airport in Frankfurt at 3 p.m. Mainz, where I come from, is only 45 minutes away from Frankfurt, and luckily I owned a car. Telling my parents of an urgent duty, I left with my visitor, picking up 3 more persons, and then did some low flying to the airport. The atmosphere in the car was electrifying. Between choking with tears of joy and singing the Triune God a few times over, we soon arrived at the parking station of the airport, of which you can see the docket which I have kept. It helped me not to pinch myself all the time. We were told to wait at one of the VIP gathering rooms for the passenger Father Joseph Kentenich and his entourage. The room was filled with people, priests, sisters, youth, families. I came to stand next to a Schönstatt sister who could not stop the tears running down her face. No one talked much, and if then only in whispers. Everything just took so long. At long last, it was announced that Father Kentenich has left the plane and is heading towards the lounge. First, we saw a sister carrying a large MDA picture. Then some more people. They quickly passed down the ramp which led into the lounge. Then Father came. Now the silence was complete. Very slowly, Father started walking down the ramp. Still no one moved. This was absolutely incredible. Then Father opened both his arms and the ice was broken. The applause was never ending, and everyone moved forward to welcome Father and to shake hands with him. This time, tears of joy freely flowing, and no one was embarrassed. And this is a photo of some of the people who were at the airport. It was just very incredible. Soon, people stood in rows to make it easier for Father to meet everyone. I stood in the second row and couldn't take my eyes off Father. When Father shook hands with the person in front of me, he continuously looked at me. And when it was my turn, he said with a smile and a twinkle in his eye, "Now, would you like to shake hands once more?" And I only could stutter, "But Herr Pater, you haven't shaken hands with me yet." And everyone laughed. This joy of seeing Father united with his family could have lasted so much longer. But by now, cars were waiting outside to take Father to Limburg, so that he could get to the Palatine Provincial and ask permission to say the midnight mass in the shrine. It had started to rain when Father got into the car sitting next to Father Menningen in the back, while Auxiliary Bishop den Humberg sat in front with the driver. Everyone remained under the sheltering roof of the airport, while I walked to the other side of the car, standing in the rain to wave goodbye. Then Father Menningen, whom I know personally because of my work with the Schönstatt Girls' Youth in Mainz, spoke to Father, who then, looking at me, gave me his blessing. Can you imagine this? I felt my heart bursting with joy. I had received Father's blessing right at the start of his coming home from exile and my journey into the sister's family, which was also a coming home. His blessing has never left me all these years. God gave him to be with his family in Schönstatt, which I was privileged to experience, and it is still with me today. For as you all know, Father promised to come to us to Australia from heaven. Although I was not in Schönstatt itself when our Father arrived there, and this is a photo when he arrived in the original shrine, just kneeling the communion rail and just being with Our Lady. I never can be grateful enough that God allowed him to arrive there exactly on Christmas Eve, and prayed for the miracle of the Holy Night. And this is the Holy Mass Father celebrated on Christmas Eve on the 24th of December 1965. And now the questions for discussion. Share what impressed you about our Father in this video. Which qualities stood out for you? Second one, where can we see God's divine providence in this part of our history? And the third question, now that our Father is finally home with God, how do we want to respond to his promise to be with us from heaven? How is our relationship with him in this new presence? Thank you.